What's going on, everybody? It's Joe from the Acceptable Casualties. We're here to kind of go over the campaign that Vin and I are going to end up doing. We're going to be doing it based on Operation Blockbuster. It's not going to be like totally based off history. It's almost going to be like the beginning of the campaign, and then based on how Vin and I's games go, it'll kind of branch off into almost something of its own. So there's a historical feel to it, but it's not necessarily a game-by-game historical campaign. So for those of you who don't know Operation Blockbuster, it's kind of the Brits and Canadians coming together and working their way into Germany across the Rhine. So that's how Vin and I decided to set it up. We're going to be working around the town of, I think it's pronounced Zenton, going into Wessel into Germany. Like I said, there's a map set up that you guys are going to see for the first game of the campaign, and it'll be updated every time that we play it, so you guys can kind of follow along as far as what's going on. Some of the lists and game sizes is another thing I wanted to go over for you guys. So the way they're going to be playing it out is going to be Vin and I both have made 6 lists each. Each one of our armies is all the lists come together are going to have a 700-point list, and there'll be 2 600-point lists, 2 500-point lists, and then 1 400-point garrison list that will be left in like small towns and villages. So if one of us attacked the other person's supply lines or anything like that, the garrison unit will be the one there that you end up playing against, and then the other lists are just pretty much there for operations, fighting into each other's lines and things of that nature. So for me, I'll be playing the British in the campaign. I have lists for, like I said, it's not completely historically accurate, but like I said, I have a lot of stuff for British 11th Armor. So I have 3 lists in my army that are going to be based off British 11th Armor. There's going to be a regular tank squadron list. There's also going to be a recce list that's going to be put in there, kind of almost based off Innsbruck, like somewhere around there. But there's still going to be some infantry elements to it, and then there's going to be a motorized infantry with like half tracks and things like that. Lots of heavy scout elements are going to be in the 11th Armored, more mechanized. That's kind of the theme I went for them. So I have 3 armies in there. Also going to have 2nd Canadian Infantry. They're going to have their own list, which is going to be almost not purely based on just infantry, but it's going to be a lot of infantry. I think it's 2 platoons of infantry are going to be in that list. I want to say it's like the 600-point list that I have with some elements of tank support, but not a lot. I think there might be like only 1 or 2 tanks in that list. So it's going to be really infantry heavy with pioneers and things like that. And then I have another list that's going to be the 52nd Lowland Division, which I think is going to be, that's the first battle report. It's going to be coming up tomorrow. The way I set it up for the campaign, I tried to line everything up pretty close to how it started off historically. So you're going to get the 52nd Lowland is going to be pushing more toward the western side of the campaign map, working its way around in a bigger loop, where the 2nd Canadian Infantry is going to be pushing more closer to the Rhine, making its way down to Zenton, I think, or Zenton is the name of it, and then pushing over into Wessel. And then 11th Armored, their elements are going to be pushing up the middle. So that's kind of how I have mine set up for the Brits. Vin, on the other hand, he's going to be using his stuff out of the Fall of the Reich book, which I'm using as well. So that's the chit set and the rules and everything that we're going to be using. Vin has a mix of, he has like 3 Volksgrenadier platoons, all the same point totals as mine, they vary, but he has 3 Volksgrenadier armies or lists in there, and they each vary a little bit in flavor. Some has some Volksgrenadiers with some auxiliary mixed into it. One's kind of artillery heavy, more based on digging in and holding down some defenses, and then there's another balanced Volksgrenadier list that Vin has in there. He also put together a Panzer list, which we're kind of loosely basing on the 1st Panzer Division. And then Vin also has an SS list in there. Like I said, how it fits in historically, I said things are such in shambles at that point. I did a little bit of research on the German side, but not a ton of it. So there's nothing really like hammered home, like hardcore like historical in those lists. We just kind of tried to balance it out at that point. So that's kind of how the lists are going to go. The scoring, the rules is how we're doing it. It's going to kind of be an open running campaign. So there is going to be like a victory term for myself. Like if I take Zenton and then cross the Rhine and get into West, well, that's going to be the end of the campaign. It'll be British victory. If Vin's able to kind of hold me off for a prolonged amount of time, then we'll just call it a stalemate, and that'll just be how the campaign ends. And then if Vin ends up like steamrolling me defensively and I'm not able to break anything through, then it'll be a German victory. So we're kind of loosely going to run the campaign like that. And there's going to be like there's no hard terms for victory outside of crossing the Rhine for the Brits, and everything else we're kind of just gonna feel our way through. And if it just if it's like really like slogging along, or it's not entertaining, we'll find a way to kind of wrap it up and have it make sense. But if it's a good campaign, everybody's enjoying it, then we'll see it through to the end and play it that way. So like I said, it'll be defined kind of like how we're feeling here, and then kind of how you guys are feeling as far as watching it goes. For the scoring, so the way we're going to work it is the scoring, we're going to be basing off, there's going to be campaign points, but there's going to be a way that we're going to be using them. So for the campaign points, for victory, if you win the battle, you get 100 points. For every objective that you keep on the table, you're going to get 25 points for that. At the end of the game, regardless if you win or lose the game, if you hold an objective, you get 25 points for it. If you kill the opponent's senior officer, there's a couple other ways to score, you get points for it. At the end of your game, you're going to get this pool of points, and that's the way for you to buy back units that you lost. So let's say like you lose, like, you know, a Daimler one I lose. At the end of the game, I'm going to have an opportunity. I roll a 5 or a 6. They just get reinforced. They don't cost me anything. If I lost them in the game, that's just how it'll be. If I roll a 1, 2, 3, or 4, I'll have to actually take points from my campaign pool and buy that unit back. So holding objectives in the game and it's going to be pretty big, because even if you lose and you're able to still control some objectives on the table, you're going to get the points back to buy some of your lost units. The way we're working it also is your unit has to be completely wiped out for you to have to get to that point where you have to buy them back. So say you buy a platoon of Shermans or a platoon of Stugs, and you only lose 2 out of the 3. You still get them back. You get them back in full for the next game. You don't have to pay them off. If you lost all 3 of them, you'd have to buy the whole platoon back. So that'll work like that. Same thing with infantry. If you only lose like 2 rifle squads out of your whole platoon, the next game they all come back free of charge. You don't have to do anything. It needs to be wiped out completely to a man or to a vehicle based off what you bought, and then, you know, with the little rolling chart that I just told you guys about. So that's how we're kind of working it. So if you get on your back foot and, you know, one of us start losing a couple games and we're not getting as many campaign points, some of these lists might be a little more depleted, like our 500 or 600 point list might only be down to like 400 points. We need to squeak out a victory and get some points back to bump those guys back up. So there's that's kind of how we're going to start working the campaign points. So if you guys see the list on the table, some might look a little more light than it usually does. That might be the reason why. And I'm going to try to explain that in the videos without soaking up too much time when we're doing the battle reports. For the rules, like I said, we're going to be using the Follow the Reich rule set. We're going to be Follow the Reich chit set. That's decided what we wanted to go with. Like I said, late war, working in Germany, it just fit. It worked out really well. So we're going to end up using those. Vin is playing German, so he's going to be on his back foot a little bit, but he was totally fine with it. Like I said, I opted. I was like, I could play Germany if you want. He's like, he really wanted to do it. So he's going to play on the Germans on his back foot with that shit set. So we'll see how it goes. But like I said, if you guys got any questions about the campaign or like anything specifically that you guys want to know, like I said, I can let you guys know. If you guys want a copy of as far as like how we're scoring and what, like little house rules and stuff that we're doing as well, you just send me an email at theacceptablecasualties@gmail.com, and I can send that out to you guys if you guys are following along and want to get a little more information on it. But I just want to give you guys like a little intro video as far as what's going to be going on. We'll be doing this campaign over the, I would say probably like the next month or two. I want to say it's going to be, maybe not every week, but definitely it's going to be a majority of the next 2 months. Most of the battle reports you see up are going to be either based around this campaign, or there's going to be some other Battlegroup games. I'm meeting up with my buddy Scott to have a battle report for next week, actually. So the one you guys see tomorrow on Wednesday is going to be the first game for Operation Blockbuster. The next week, I think it's just going to be a regular pickup game of Battlegroup. We're going to be doing, I think, 101st Airborne against Fallschirmjägers in France. So that's going to be our next one. And then after that, we'll probably jump back into Operation Blockbuster and kind of start sprinkling that in there. So you're going to get a heavy dose of this campaign over the next 2 months. And there might be some breaks in between here and there just to kind of either, either I'm playing against a different opponent or just be doing something different altogether. So, as the campaign goes on, leave me some feedback. I always like to hear what you guys think. If you got any ideas to kind of make it better too, it'll be awesome. So thanks for watching. Like, subscribe. Like I said, leave a little stuff down in the comment section if you guys got any suggestions. Like I said, it's greatly appreciated. So I'll catch you guys later.